everybody, what's up? My name's Balak and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be about what I've learned since managing people. I've been managing people for the last 3 years. I've been managing people since I've been 23 years old. I am now 26 years old. First and foremost, I'm just gonna kind of go into what I want this channel to be. So if you are into learning from other people, growing from experiences, and also just intelligent conversation, then please subscribe to my channel. I am all about growth. I am all about motivating others to kind of step out of their comfort zones and go after what they want in life. So if any of that stuff applies to you, please subscribe. As I mentioned before, I have been managing since I've been 23 years old. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot during my 3 years of managing people. Since 23, I've been managing my own office. I currently work for a home healthcare agency, and currently I manage 3 teams. I manage our HR team, our payroll team, and then our sales team. And I am on like the front lines, just managing all of the internal staff. We also have external staff, which basically my internal staff manages. And I also want to just note that most of the people that I've managed, they're not much older than I am. I primarily manage millennials, so people around my same age. And I'm sure that honestly, like managing people that are older than me versus like the same age as me is a lot different than, and probably people have had a lot different experiences than what I've had. Let's get into the video and please subscribe to my channel and give it a thumbs up if you actually found some value out of it. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is just setting goals and expectations for your team right away. At the very end of the day, you need to set expectations for your team members, and likewise, they've already set expectations for you. So it's good to have an open discussion of like what you're expecting from them, and then likewise, what they're expecting from you as their manager. Every single person's different. They're gonna need different things from you. You're not only setting like personal expectations, but you're setting obviously goals for your team members. So I personally use SMART goals at work, and I set SMART goals for, again, each one of my teams. Every single goal needs to be met. And honestly, like in a perfect world, obviously, like yes, every single goal will be met, but it doesn't necessarily happen like that. So say if I'm asking my HR team to bring in 6 hires a week and they only brought in 4 this past week. Every single time that your team does not hit a certain goal, you need to reevaluate. You need to pull them aside at the end of that week or the beginning of the next week, kind of go over exactly how they did and how they performed that week, and talk to them and just be like, all right, like you hit 4 out of your 6 hires last week. This week you're gonna have to do 8, or we can do 7 the next 2 weeks to make up for it. So you never, ever, ever, ever set yourself short of the goal that's set for you as a manager, because at that point you're just selling yourself short. Your team members can do it, and if they can't, they can ask for support, or you can support them. Along with that, never set a goal or expectation for your team that you're not willing to accomplish and hit yourself. That is so important. I see managers do this, not all the time, but I do see it happen. And you want to make sure your team knows that you will always be there to help them and that you've been through this. Like you know exactly what they're going through and you've been through what they're going through. And even if you haven't, say if you're just trying something new and it's something that like you've honestly never done before, but just showing them that you're willing to do it and willing to try and learn with them, that'll speak wonders to them. So just make sure that you're doing that, and make sure you're sincere about it too, because that's so important. And then the last thing I wanted to go over in this topic was just keeping track of the data in your team's performance. So I can go off of my office. My office has annual goals that we need to hit, that basically our corporate office sets for us. And it's up to me to make sure that I motivate all of my teams to make sure that they're able to hit these goals that we have in place. So I break the goals up. I break them up in terms of quarterly goals, monthly goals, and then weekly goals. And I really look at weekly and monthly combined, and then obviously at the end of each quarter, I'll see how we did at the end of each quarter. Another thing that I do too, just a little side note, I don't necessarily look month to month. I look like in 2018, I look at the first quarter, and then I'll look at 2019's quarter, and then I'll compare that to 2020's first quarter. So that's kind of how I do it. I do it by year, not doing it month to month, because a lot of things waver. For instance, we generate a lot more business over the summer than we do over the winter. So it's good to compare year to year with around like the same time frame that you're in, opposed to comparing month to month to month. Honestly, you'll be able to see different trends in different places. So I'm not saying just like do it that way. That's the way that I see the most, what's most effective for me. But don't get me wrong. I've looked at month to month, I've looked at week to week, I look at those things, but you also want to make sure that like you're also using the most prevalent data that you can. Okay, so the second thing that I've learned while managing people is that you want to build credibility with your team. At the end of the day, your employees are looking up to you, and you want to make sure that you are, again, you're just building credibility with them, that they trust you. The biggest way that I have done this, and it's my number one thing to do when you're not only interviewing people, but also when they come on board to your organization, is to ask your employees what their long-term goals are. Now, again, this is like a standard interview question. So when you are interviewing people to come on your team, like you should already basically have an idea of where they are and what their goals are, long-term goals are. Whether you asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or where do you see yourself in 10 years? Or, if you ask a question like that, then you kind of have a basic idea of where this person sees themselves. When they come on to your company and you start managing them, you need to continue to build that. And from the get-go, so all of your weekly one-on-ones that you have with them, at the very end, just talk to them about their long-term goals, where they see themselves. Unfortunately, sometimes what I'll see is that what they told you in the interview isn't exactly what they want to do and where they see themselves long term. I'm not saying that they didn't want to be leaders in the company, but I did see that they had other aspirations that they wanted to go after. And sometimes what will happen is when you become and you build that trust and you have that credibility with your employees, they'll tell you, they'll be like, oh, well, I actually see myself going to grad school in the next 2 years. I have had someone tell me that, their goal is to be a basketball coach, like a female basketball coach. The biggest thing that you want to do is support them. And whether that's if they want to, be a manager in the company or do something within the company, or if it's even outside of the company, to the girl that wanted to be that female basketball coach, I'm not going to stop growing and developing her into a leader because she didn't see her path in the company. At the end of the day, I get that a lot of people will think, oh, well, they're going to leave anyway. So what's the point in me investing my time and my effort into growing and developing them? They're not going to be here they're not going to be here much longer. I get that. I do. Let's not forget about the expectations that we set in the beginning. We set personal expectations of what the employee expects from you and what you expect from the employee. And then you also set goals and expectations of how they're going to be performing while they're under you. In order for them to continue to feel motivated and continue to feel like you are still serving them, you need to support them, and you need to support them in any way that you can. So for instance, for the girl that told me that she wanted to be a basketball coach, what I did was anytime she mastered a skill, I let her teach it to other people. I let her coach and mentor other people on her team that weren't as confident in it. And that's part of being a coach. It's to lead your people and show them that they're capable of doing things that are far greater than they've imagined. And honestly, that is going to gain so much credibility right there. Just by showing them it's more than just a job to you. It's a place where you're not only going to coach them on their current role, but also you're going to coach them on how to be better in life and how to go after the dreams that they want to. All right, so number 3, encourage your team to set their own limits. And this is so important to do. Obviously, you've already set goals and expectations for them, but this is if they want to exceed those goals and expectations. Some managers may be a little insecure about it, but at the end of the day, you have to understand you guys are one team. All of you are one team. So it doesn't matter if someone else is putting in a little bit more extra work. All of you are going to shine together. You also want to make sure that your other team members are using that person that is outshining everyone as an example. And that one person should be motivating the others to get to their level. At the end of the day, we're not here fighting to put other people down. We're here to uplift people and motivate people. And not only you as the manager is going to do that, but you need to teach your employees to do that. The fourth thing that I want to go over is that managing your own team can actually be more work than you were doing before in your old role. I think that a lot of people want to become managers because they're like, oh, cool, like I never have to do this one task again, or I never have to do this again. But now you're managing that task and you're managing to make sure that it's getting done. It's hard managing people. You need to know what's motivating people to come to work, you know, what keeps people happy at work, what they like doing at work, what their long-term goals are. There's a lot of different things that you need to know just about people when you manage them. But just remember, at the end of the day, you are here to serve your employees. I'm very big on servant leadership where, you know, we serve each other. It's like our customers are number one, our employees on the front lines are number two, management is number three, or corporate management number four, and then executive management, like in leadership, is number five. So like, that's the way that we need to see this. You are there helping them. At the end of the day, you need them. You need your team. So just keep that in mind, especially when you are motivating them to kind of hit their goals. It's not that one person is better than another. It's always that everybody can be better together. And how are you going to make sure that your team is doing that? All right, so the fifth thing that I want to talk about is the importance of why, knowing the why and letting your employees know the why. Every single task that your employees do, you have to let them know how it is going to overall contribute to your team and how it is overall going to contribute to the overall organization. A lot of times employees will complain and they'll say, oh, I don't want to do this task because it's so meticulous, it's just a waste of our time. But going into the reasons why they're doing it and how it contributes to not only them, their team, but also the organization as a whole. So just make sure that that's very much laid out and everybody knows what that is and like how it works. And you will definitely see the results and the outcomes from you just letting your teams know, okay, like this is something that I'm gonna go over with you. This is why you guys are doing it. This is how you guys do it. And this is how it impacts the organization overall. All right, so the next thing I wanna go and share with you. Managing your own team can be more work than your previous role itself was. It's a different kind of stress. I know usually whenever you go from one position to the next, you know, I know the position that my teams are in, the role that they usually come in with and start out with is a more day-to-day role, right? Like you're just going over day-to-day operations, making sure everything's okay on the day-to-day. When you start managing, you're now looking at the week-to-week, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, year-to-year. It's really important to go in and analyze your data, kind of how I was saying earlier, and, you know, looking at the trends and making sure that you know exactly what's going on with your team. What some people don't realize, like I said, is that management is a little bit more work. So if you're going in and you're talking about tasks that you necessarily don't like or you don't like to do, just be very self-aware of the things that you are saying and who you are saying them around. No matter how you feel about your role, what you're doing, at the end of the day, you are playing that part and you need to make sure that you play that part very well. What I see happen with a lot of new managers, and this actually happened to me too, where you'll go out and you want to become friends with all of your employees because it's like the easiest way to build credibility, and you want them to know that they can trust you no matter what. What'll happen though, and what can happen though, and it happened to me with a few employees, and I had to like reset the boundaries, and it took a while to reset. But what will end up happening is that they will not see you as their boss, they can see you more as their friend than their boss. And when you start reprimanding them or when you start talking to them and coaching them, they may not take it as lightly or how they should, I guess, with there being a boundary there between manager and employee. So keep that in mind, and just remember, you are the example of that team or of the teams that you are overseeing. So be positive, be motivating, and know the weight of your words. That's what I mean by like managing your own team, and managing teams and people is a lot more work than just doing your own individual thing. And the last thing I learned while managing people was knowing that this is an aspect of your employee's life. A lot of people talk about work-life balance, and they talk about, how much of their work they're spending on in their general life. And, I usually just see it as like work is an aspect of your life. It's sad because some people's lives start at 5 p.m. when they leave. They're like, oh, well, it's 5 p.m. Like it's time to start my life, time to hang out with my boyfriend, to do this, to do that. And, for me as a manager, just like me managing my own office, like I never want that. Like I never want anyone to think that, oh, well, I spent 8 hours here at work, like I'm gonna go start living my life now. And I don't think it should be that way. I honestly don't. Like I think that as a manager and as a leader, you want to encourage people to be themselves while they're working with you. I even have friends that'll tell me that who they are at work and who they are outside of work, they're completely two different people. And yeah, there are some things that you can't say at work, and there are some things that you can't discuss at work, definitely. However, you also want to make sure that you aren't hiding yourself, and that you're not hiding who you are while you are working. That's so important. And I know that for me, as a manager and as a leader, I never want anyone to feel like that. Again, I say this all the time, and I think this all the time. I'm always like, am I dimming their light, or am I letting my employees shine? Like, what am I doing and who am I being? And at the end of the day, never ever dim someone's light, like no matter what. Every single person has their own truth that they speak. And just remember that you can encourage and motivate them by them still speaking their truth. I think it's very challenging, and it takes a lot of empathy to figure out like where they stand and why they feel the way that they do. And in order for your team to respect you, that's definitely one of the ways that you can do it. I know that like this whole time I've been like, this is the most important thing. This is really important. I'm not gonna lie, I've learned a lot throughout my experience with managing people. I've almost found it as if it was almost of me like holding a mirror up to my face, and anything that I did, it got mimicked back, every single thing, because you don't realize at all times like the power and weight that you have. And even if you're having a bad day and you kind of go out there with like in a sourish mood, like every single person is going to emulate that. I think that's such a powerful thing that a lot of managers and leaders tend to forget. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, so that's basically everything. I just wanted to go over the things that I've learned while managing people. And I just hope that all of it made sense, and I hope I articulated it well. If you guys have any questions, concerns, anything, please comment below and just like let me know what your thoughts are, positive or negative, honestly. And if you have any feedback for me, please let me know. I am always here striving to learn and striving to grow. So any type of feedback that you have, especially if you have years on me, please let me know if you've tried any of these things and if they worked for you, or even if they didn't work for you, and just like let me know how, because I would love to know how I can strengthen my leadership skills. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe. I'm gonna put all my stuff down below, and please comment and please let me know what your thoughts were. Thank you so much for watching.